Coming at you from Spartanburg Community College, and I'm at the Balmer Fountain here in Spartanburg. When I woke up this morning, I didn't really have this on my itinerary. I sort of just kind of passed it while on the road and thought, I might want to check that out. And so here we are. In fact, this is how most of my solo adventures go. One of the misconceptions I think people have about traveling solo is that you have to really have everything planned out, since no one will be there to help you if you f*** anything up. But it is just that, a misconception. See, believe it or not, you're never really alone when you travel. You have a variety of friends at your fingertips. You have Google Maps for sure. You have a variety of coffee shops everywhere. I have found that baristas in particular tend to know the area pretty well, so if you ever get lost or you need something, just go there. Better yet, go to a museum. They tend to know all kinds of weird shit. And do your research. Some museums are free, others are not. You can find out pretty quickly. I think the key is not to be afraid of the unknown. Sure, a little bit of fear is good and even a little healthy, but the question is, do you confront that fear? Do you conquer it? Or do you let it conquer you? Coming at you now from the Mint Museum here in Uptown Charlotte. I think one of the most important things to keep in mind, especially about traveling by yourself, is that you have to do a certain amount of research. You don't necessarily need a plan per se, but you do need a good general idea of the places you are going to visit. For example, I learned last night that you can actually attend this museum for free on Wednesday evenings after 5 p.m. It is currently 5:20 in the evening. As long as you have a general idea of kind of the goals that you want to achieve or the things that you want to accomplish during your travels, you should be able to maintain a pretty healthy schedule. It's not about having a full plan. One of the benefits to traveling alone is that you can be flexible as far as what your day-to-day itinerary looks like. The research I did on Charlotte before I got here, took place pretty much entirely last night, and so everything that I know maybe took me an hour or so to figure out via Google, so you don't really need a lot of research to be done. Give yourself a pool of things to choose from, and then base those choices off of the things that are going on. And here we are. Another reason you need to do research is so that you can find the really unique spots. Especially if you're going to a city or a place you don't know much about, definitely do your research and learn a little bit about what makes it unique. For example, here in Charlotte, they have a parking garage that actually is an instrument. Marcus coming at you from Charlotte now. This is the second day that I am here. Let's talk transportation for a minute. I am visiting here with a car because I have one, but if you do not have one, that is perfectly fine. There are so many options available. I'm going to share with you a short anecdote. When I was in New Orleans, I had been using the bus service for the very first time, and I will tell you that it was a very stressful experience for me, but it didn't have to be. The reason is because I was unfamiliar with the bus routes, and so because of that, I got a little bit lost and took the wrong bus and nearly missed my flight because of it. So one of the things that I would advise of you is take a look at the transportation options that you have at your disposal. Most of the time, this will include bus routes, but if you're in a large city such as Charlotte or perhaps Atlanta, you've got Metro. Use the train system. Train system is usually pretty reliable, and it's way cheaper than Uber or Lyft, both of which are services I use in last-minute scenarios only. It really all comes down to convenience and what you're willing to pay. If you want to be economical with your travel, as I do because I do it so much, think about your transportation, because that's where a lot of your expenses are going to really come into play. If you're okay with walking, transportation shouldn't be too much of an issue, because train and bus routes will get you pretty much anywhere that you need to go, give or take a short walk or two. Yeah, let's talk parking a minute. Especially in a big city like this, parking can be a bit of an issue. And so one of the things that I like to do is choose one of these interesting little spots here. Oh, one other important tip, do not ever park in parking garages like this one that you want to charge you $12 or $9 on a daily rate. You do not need that. Now, I'm not really a big proponent of doing all of the really like touristy kind of stuff. I mean, you can do that if you want to, but don't do it because you're afraid of kind of going off and doing your own thing, you know? Stay in public places, don't go out by yourself at night in certain parts of town, know the area. Reality is, it doesn't really matter how far you are from home, right? That's the interesting thing about travel, is it sort of distorts your sense of place, because right now I feel very far from home, but I'm not, I'm only a couple hours away. But whether you're a couple hours away or whether you're overseas, it doesn't really matter, because when you travel alone, you are immersing yourself in the place, into a new environment, and you should focus on that fully. Invest in your resources. If you have a car and you travel by car a lot, one of your best resources is going to be a AAA card, membership, or some other related service. I keep it with me at all times in my wallet so that if my car ever does let me down, I'm not really alone. Again, this goes back to, you know, what we talked about earlier. Have resources available to you. When I lived in Tampa, I used to make a number of excursions up to Atlanta, Georgia, by road for many different reasons. And on one such return trip, my car broke down in the middle of nowhere. I think what had ended up happening was there was some wear and tear, just some tubes in the engine that needed to be replaced. It was a rough situation. It broke down right on the highway. I was just getting off one of the exits, the closest one, but I did not fret. I only had to make 3 phone calls. The first phone call was to the closest auto repair shop that I could find. The second phone call was to AAA to have them tow my vehicle to that shop. And the third phone call was to the police so that they could help get me off of the road until AAA could get there. That's it. That's all I had to do. Everything else was taken care of. Now, of course, it did pull a little bit of money out of my pocket, you know, but that's life. That kind of thing happens. The important thing is not to get discouraged when things like that go wrong. That's why it's important, you know, if you have your resources ahead of you, you can spend less time focusing on what could go wrong and instead focus on what's going right. Right? Because if you have all the tools you need to help you when things go wrong, then you'll be able to travel stress-free. All right, let's talk packing, because I feel that there are some misconceptions about this. I see a lot of people at airports and wherever they go with these giant-ass suitcases, and it makes me cringe ever so slightly. This is my luggage everywhere, whether I am traveling by road or by plane. A decent-sized backpack with a proper organizational structure is really all that you need. This backpack is really nice because, first of all, it has these pads on the back so that when I am wearing it, it doesn't feel like I am carrying giant metal pipes on my back all throughout the day. In the back, I have a compartment specifically for my laptop and my travel folder where I keep documents and brochures, which are my souvenirs. See, I don't purchase souvenirs really anywhere I go because I think that is a waste of money. I don't have a shelf or anything that I put little memoirs on or mementos or what have you. I just keep the brochures and various pieces of information from the places that I visit, and that's enough for me, as well as my photographs that I post for you guys and videos. I also get some side pockets here. This one has a hard drive that has some more information on it if I need it. Make sure you always have a good book or two with you wherever you travel. You never know when you may just want to stop at a coffee shop and do a little reading, which is one of the things that I really like to do anywhere I travel. In fact, coffee shops are one of the first places that I like to visit during my travels. It's a great way to take in the environment around you and reflect a little bit before you get on with your day. A way to break into the area in which you are visiting. When I first came to Charlotte, one of my first stops was one of the coffee shops on 7th Station, which is this large sort of public market right by the train station. I stopped in and I had a cup of coffee. and I did a little bit of reading and writing, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration, is from traveling and sort of being immersed in these new environments. So if you are a reader, if you're a writer, if you are anything at all, coffee shops are a really great thing to add to your itineraries no matter where you go. Taking a look under the hood now, what do we find? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shirts, and then we've got 2 pairs of pants. That's 8 days worth of clothes. And then I've got my laptop power adapter snuggled in here, as well as some headphones. You'll notice also that I don't bother bringing cosmetics, except for things like deodorant and lotion I put like in the front pocket here, but that's really about it. Don't waste space with a toiletries bag full of all of your soaps, your shampoos, toothbrush, toothpaste, shaving cream, shaver, which you probably can't even take on the plane anyway. Just stop at a CVS and get a little travel kit. Toothbrushes are like 60 cents, and if you want, you can put it in a little baggie and stuff it in here. That's probably okay. But you don't want to waste valuable space with a bunch of stuff you don't need. Don't bring soap and shampoo. First of all, if you're going on a trip that's under 3 days, you don't need to use shampoo at all. And secondly, every accommodation you stay at should have soap and shampoo. Hotels, Airbnb, it's a standard in both. But when in doubt, you can just ask ahead of time. And that's the other important thing, is to ask questions about the places that you want to stay. Okay, so let's talk food for a moment. I'm here now at the Charlotte Farmers Market, kind of in the middle of nowhere. I just picked up some bananas and a few avocados because they're cheaper here than pretty much anywhere else. And that's really the number one thing that I would say, is that when you travel anywhere, go to the farmers markets to get your groceries. I bring very few things with me when I do my road trips. Bread, peanut butter, bananas. Sometimes I bring a couple different fruits. I didn't have any this time around, so that's why I'm here. Sometimes I cook food beforehand, like I'll make like biscuits or something, or granola, and bring that. I did not this time, and that's fine. But it's all in the interest of being economical. I have this Starbucks bag here because I had picked up a bagel or two from them because they're only like $1 something. Now, to some people, food is a big part of traveling, and if that's you, go ahead, do it. But be wise. You can eat in the inner city, but you'll pay twice as much as if you eat the same food in the outer city limits. You know, so it's really all about the experience you're going for. So sure, you can enjoy a 5-course meal in the very center of uptown Charlotte, like I did not do, or you can have the same meal somewhere else, maybe South Side or something like that. But you'll pay half the price. So there's always a compromise there. But you have to really think about food when you're traveling, because if you are not bringing any food with you, you're going to be buying all of it. I have done some road trips where I have neglected to purchase any food at all because I prepared it and brought it all with me. Breakfasts I would have at my Airbnbs, right? And those would consist of maybe bagels or toast with peanut butter, and I slice a banana and put it on top. For lunch, usually I have my picnic basket, and I just have a picnic somewhere. Whether it be at a botanical garden or a park, I just have picnic. Then for dinner, usually I eat very light, so I bring something along for that as well. Most of the Airbnbs I stay at have microwaves that I can use, so I bring little microwavable meals. That's something for you to consider. Even if you don't bring the stuff with you, you can stop at a Walmart or a Publix or something that's in the city that you're traveling to. I mean, I know they have that. So here we are at my favorite aisle in Walmart. Thing I like about Kashi cereal: lots of protein, and that price tag is quite respectable. Couple boxes of this Kashi Toasted Berry Crisp cereal, a loaf of bread, and underneath I bought some more assorted plastic cutlery. Those on top of the bananas and avocados I got from the market, $10, and it could easily be several meals. Having non-perishable options is also good because some of the Airbnbs that I stay at don't allow kitchen access. And so you can just kind of eat this like you would granola. That's why I like this particular type of cereal. Now, they're obviously not sponsoring this video, but this is great because the clusters allow you to just kind of eat them in handfuls, and for me, I don't like to use my hands, so I just use the spoon and just kind of scoop out the clusters, and you can eat it on the go. You can eat it anywhere you want, except maybe the library. That might not be too considerate. You'll notice that I never pick up any bottles of water, and there's a very good reason for that. Starbucks gives it to you for free, and thanks to the Philadelphia incident that happened last year, you no longer have to worry about getting kicked out for using the restrooms. Plus, you get free Wi-Fi, so overall, Starbucks is a really great checkpoint, you could say, to take a break and kind of get yourself back on track, and you don't even have to buy anything. Coming at you from Wing Haven, a bird sanctuary here in Charlotte, which should not surprise you guys. Let's talk about Airbnb a bit, because I think there's some misconceptions that go around this, and people would often ask me about the safety of that, and they get a little concerned. So I want to break some of those myths. First of all, for those of you who say to me, oh, well, Marcus, I have trust issues. I can't stay at an Airbnb. It would be too difficult for me. Allow me to remind you that people who host their place as an Airbnb, they are business owners, and so they want to satisfy you as a customer. They are not there to rob you, they are not there to assault you or anything else that you may fear. I have stayed at numerous Airbnbs and I have not once felt my safety to be threatened. If you're among those who say you have trust issues, welcome to the world. Every single person on the face of this earth has some degree of trust issues. So that should actually make you feel better about the fact that your Airbnb hosts have been right where you are. Marcus coming at you from Columbia, South Carolina. Let's talk about being street smart, which is something I am not being right now. When I was new to this whole traveling thing, I used to always carry around my camera bag and my camera. I would always wear it around my neck and carry it like a press or like a tourist, right? And because of that, I was always a target. A lot of questionable characters would come up to me asking for various different things. Sometimes people would follow me. All these questionable behaviors that I could have very easily avoided had I been a little bit smarter about how I presented myself. And so that's really the number one tip that I would give to those of you, especially when you're traveling alone. Whether or not you are a tourist, you want to probably do your best not to look like one. Nowadays, I don't really carry my camera anywhere, actually. My phone is pretty good for that. I mean, you can look at people and be friendly with people. That's perfectly fine. And in fact, I encourage that. But be smart about it. You know, the other thing that I see a lot of people do when they travel is they purchase out the ass. This makes you a target for sure. And you want to probably try and avoid that. The reality is most of the stuff you're buying, you probably don't need. And if you're looking for a souvenir, get one, or do what I do and take pictures and video. You don't want to stand out when you travel. You know, if you want to be a celebrity, you want to be a singer, you know, you want to find ways to stand out, but not when you're traveling alone. You want to try your best to fit in. You don't have anybody else to rely on to get you out of sticky situations, so you have to learn how to get out of them yourself. Sometimes that means being a little more upfront and confrontational than you might otherwise be. Of course, the easy solution is to not get yourself in that situation to begin with, which, if you follow my tips about not looking like a tourist, not flaunting all your stuff around, and not spending an assload of money, you should be pretty okay. Also, little word of advice. If you're going to do a lot of the sort of highlights or the touristy spots that you see on a lot of like TripAdvisor and a lot of these websites, you can do that, but understand that everybody else is probably doing the same thing. When I went to New Zealand, one of the most interesting things that that was advertised that I wanted to do was visit Milford Sound, considered by some to be among like the 8th wonder of the world, and it very much was a beautiful sight. However, everybody else went to see it as well. Everyone poured off the sides of the boat with their cell phones trying to snag the perfect shot. I couldn't even see the perfect shot. And so I would caution you to think about the way that you approach travel. Some things are for your eyes only, and that's what makes it special. That's what makes traveling alone so unique, is that even though you can share your experiences with others, ultimately the experiences, they are your own. So with all of that coming at you from a park here in Aiken, South Carolina, I would say happy traveling. Of course, if you have any other questions at all or anything that you would like me to discuss further, please reach out to me, leave a comment, let me know. I would be happy to do so. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. The sun is shining bright, and it's the first day of spring.